Oh, my mic wasn't on. Hi.
Hi.
How you
There's another one.
doing?
My kids are home for the summer, and we are starting a new little Monday ritual. So, welcome back. If you're watching this, to another episode of the Transforming Reflections Chit Chat whole thing that we're doing. Today we are going to Ariana. I almost wore that shirt. It was almost a thing. We went with the tattoos are trashy instead today. Oh, right. Anyway, we are going to be talking about mastering the art of hair loss consultations. And honestly, this breakdown of everything is easy enough to apply to all of your consultations. Ree, would you say that's kind of helped you in all of yours too? Yeah. So this isn't just a a situation where it only works if you're doing hair loss. Like this isn't super detailed where ask this question and then do this. Like first, no. But it does help to build the trust and build that connection that a hair loss guest really needs in order to pull the trigger and in order to invest a lot of money with us. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. If you haven't already gotten into the little link I posted to see our personal flow for a consultation. I'm trying to see if I can pull that up and have it on here. But that will be on the feed. If you're watching this, I can put it down in the notes, I think. I'll try to link it there. If not, it will be tagged on the full page. So that's good too. But the piece that you'll end up putting your guest in will really be determined by this conversation. And that's one thing I want all of you to kind of remember, that these consultations, I don't want you to think of it like you deciding to or to not take that guest. Like this is really a conversation for that guest with you just as much as you with that guest. So it is a two-way kind of street that I want everybody to understand with that. So I honestly believe that this consultation is the most important piece of this entire puzzle, because if you bomb the consultation, it's just a series of events that happen after that that could potentially set you up for failure. So getting and nailing this consultation is honestly like the first check mark. It's your first point of contact with that guest, whether you're doing this over the phone or in person. But no matter what, this consultation is key in order to really have great success with anything that you're doing. So to start off, let's see. Why is nothing loading like I want it to? Why is that always a thing? Like every time you try to do something and then nothing works, it's just like I will not be doing that for you today. I love it. It's the best. Let's see. What about this? Oh, okay. We're getting there. We're getting there. Perfect. Also, if anybody hears crashing or banging or God only knows what else, just disregard. Okay? Disregard. It is the meatheads of which I have raised. We just aren't asking questions today. Anyway, okay, so let's get into the first step of the consultation roadmap, is setting the frame. So I'm going to kind of walk you through how I've already had 2 consultation calls today. So we're going to talk about kind of how we walk that down. So me personally, before they even get to a consultation with us in our salon, our clients, potential guests, go through a a portal first. So if somebody's interested in booking with us, we send them a link that's just going to ask some basic questions. I do that to save myself time because all of my consultations are done. Hello, Barbie. Welcome. All
Sorry,
of
I'm
my
in my break room.
You're okay. I'm in my bedroom, so go team.
This is my blow the chemicals out of my face fan. Okay,
Perfect.
there we go.
Airways. We are just starting to go over the consultation roadmap that we use to set the frame and just really dive in and connect with our hair loss guests. This is the consultation flow that we use in our salon. And it's not just for hair loss guests. You can honestly use this same flow for any of your consultations. So that's the cool part of that
Perfect.
too. So Before we see a guest, whether it be in person or over the phone, depending on who's having the consultation, we always have them fill out that little form ahead of time. Now, that form allows me to already have in my head what I think that client is going to need. Has a few basic questions. It's nothing in depth. There's no essay questions, nothing like annoying, because like, let's face it, as consumers, if I have to jump through like 38 hoops to get where I want to go or to like acquire the thing that I want, like I'm not going to do it. And honestly, like that's going to be the majority of your clientele. There's going to be very few people that if you have like a 30 question consultation, pre-consultation questionnaire or whatever, that are going to actually get through that. Like they're going to be annoyed. Also in our pre-consultation questionnaire, we have a like a whole pricing section at the bottom. My pricing is listed on my website. My pricing is listed in this consultation. Like I don't want anybody to be shocked when they hear my numbers. That is the number one thing, like before I had pricing anywhere, that people were like, who about, and would cause them not to book with me. So by the time they sit in my chair, by the time they're on the phone, by the time I talk to them and take my time to communicate with them, I don't want price to be an issue. I want them to have already seen all the pricing that they could potentially be paying, prepare themselves for the big number, and then when I talk to them, potentially quote them less. But they've already seen all that, so they don't worry about it, right? I think a lot of the times I hear stylists who like don't have their pricing and they're like, well, I don't want to freak anybody out or scare anybody away. No, honestly, if they're scared away by your pricing, that's probably not the client that was going to book with you in the first place. You know what I mean? So I think it helps to, yes, have that range. Like it could be between X or Y, but I have found, especially when it comes to hair loss people, they like transparency. They are used to stylists that they talk to just not really telling them anything. And then they waste all this time, come and sit in your chair, and you're like, actually, I can't help you. So they're used to that flow already. So the more that they can know ahead of time, it helps build that trust. Like no trust, that's what we need in order for a guest to book with us. If they don't have those three pillars, they're not going to book with you. They have to have all three. So once we get to the section of them going through that consultation, pre-consultation questionnaire is what I call it. It's not an application. Application sounds fucking snobby. So we call it a pre-consultation questionnaire. So they fill that out, and at the very end of that form, it has an option for them to immediately book their call with me. I have a Calendly link at the bottom of that. They pick what's open. Great. It works for them. Big thumbs up. So now we're on the call. Immediately, what I say is like, I welcome them. We're kind of like chit chatty. Like I just talk like a normal person. Okay. Like this isn't some kind of like formal business attire kind of thing. So my call this morning, we'll use Sarah as an example. I was like, oh my gosh, Sarah, thank you so much for being on this call with me. I'm just going to jump right in because most people have never had a phone call consultation for a hair appointment before. So we're just going to give you a little rundown of how this goes. And she was kind of laughing and she's like, yeah, you're absolutely right. I've never done that before. I'm like, girl, I get it. So I was like, I just want to set the frame a little bit in this moment and tell her what to expect and like how this whole call is going to go. So step one for our consultation roadmap is setting the frame. I, as a leader and I, as the like authority in this situation, I'm going to set the frame for that client so that she knows what she's getting ready to be getting into. Okay. So not only is this going to kind of, we'll say, position me as like knowing what the fuck I'm doing in the first place. Not that we're just getting on this consultation call and just like bullshitting for a little while, you know, it's going to let her know that I kind of have like a way we do this, but it's also going to help again build trust because she's going to feel that like leadership in that moment. So we're going to set the frame by basically just giving them our little intro. So for me, that is like, sure, you've never had a hair call consultation before. So I'm just going to go a little bit over what we're going to talk about today. Really, the most of the questions that I have for you, you answered in that form that you filled out. Super easy on my end. I just have a few. Otherwise, I want this call to be where you can get all of your questions answered because I'm sure you have way more than I do. And I want to make sure you can come out of this conversation really feeling rock solid on your decision to invest with me. Now, if that sounds like a great thing, we feel like we're both a really good fit for each other. You feel like this is the right choice for you, and I feel like you're good for this method. I'm going to invite you to put down your 50% non-refundable deposit, and that can lock in your appointment and get you on your road to your dream hair. Does that sound great? Typically, they're always like, yeah, gung ho, let's do it. Awesome. So after that, I open up the floor and I say, one of my only questions for you is I just really like to get to know you and connect with your story. I like to understand where my guests are coming from, and everybody has their own unique story. So, can you tell me a little bit about you? How you got here? What led to your hair loss? This is usually the section, you guys, where they literally like info dump and give you their entire backstory, or I swear there's only two types. Info dumping, sharing everything, or they're like, I have hair loss, it's pretty bad. I don't know why, but there's no one in the middle, I swear. Which, like, I would totally prefer an info dump over like a, yeah, hair's thin. And you're like, okay, how can I help you with that? So yeah, I always love when clients are like overshares and like immediately start like telling you their story, because to me that means that they've already looked at my stuff that I have on the internet, whether that's my website, whether that's my Instagram, Facebook, whatever they found me on. They already feel comfortable enough with me to share their story because of my marketing. So that to me is really important, that even out of the consultation side of things, but in the marketing, that we already start to build in that trust factor. So by the time we get like on the phone, they already feel that connection. So this is going to move into the second phase of our consultation roadmap out of 4. So this is discover their story. So we're going to set the frame first, then we're going to discover their story and let them tell you everything. So using my consultation that I had earlier, Sarah, as a example, she started talking to me and she was like, hey, I have androgenic alopecia. This is something that has, I've looked back and pretty much everybody in my family is experiencing hair loss. And she started getting into how it affects her and how she's afraid of how the wind blows. And she's sick and tired of seeing her scalp as the first thing that she notices in the morning when she wakes up. And then it just like really takes a toll on her confidence. So she's telling me all of this. She's worn extensions for a few years, but like as her hair loss progresses, they're just more and more noticeable and they look more like a mullet. And she's really just not comfortable with that. So she went from hating her hair because it's so thin to now hating her hair because it looks fake, and she just can't find a happy medium. As she's telling me this, you guys, you can hear the emotion start bubbling up in her voice. So this is the moment that I take to connect with that guest as a fucking human, not as a stylist, not as someone who wants their money, like not as a like client provider kind of relationship. This is human to human conversation where I'm like, hey, first of all, thank you for sharing that with me. Thank you for giving me all those details, and thank you for letting me into that little piece, because I know how difficult that is, especially in the culture that we have in hair loss. There are so many women that are I mean, it's like 60% of women are constantly dealing with hair loss, but you would never think that like over half of the women that you meet are currently experiencing some form of hair loss. Like everybody just hides it so well. So I made a point to tell her, I want you to know you are not alone. And I know you feel really alone sometimes, and especially in a situation where you're going through hair loss stuff, but you aren't. And I literally deal with this all day, every day. 100% of my clientele are hair loss sufferers. And because of that, I can like legitimately promise you, you are not alone. There are other women going through this too. And like, as I'm saying this, like I hear her sniffling in the background. She's like, thank you. You're welcome. Because person to person, this conversation is more than just you trying to acquire a new guest. This is you talking to them like another human that you care about. Okay. So we say this a lot, and if you've watched a lot of my trainings, you've heard this 100 times. If you make it weird, it will be weird. Okay. So if you come into it in a weird energy or in a like, I don't really know if this is weird, they're going to pick up on that. Okay. So just be yourself. Chances are that client has found you because she already loves your work online or has seen your stories or already is connected with you in some way. So don't make it weird. Like she found you, dog. You didn't like go and hunt her down on the road and was like, let me do your hair. Like she contacted you. So keep that in your mind too. Cause I think as stylists, we like mind fuck our brains a lot. So that's going to move into the third part of our consultation flow map. So we have set the frame, discover their story, and now we're going to determine the best fit for them. So like I said, that consultation, like pre-consultation questionnaire that I have them fill out is going to answer, like they're going to answer my questions to see what kind of piece I even need to put them in. So this is also, I have another good resource, the Piece Finder Flow Map, that really like helps you train your brain to make those distinctions. So in those questions, that's going to help me decide, okay, does she want length? Yes or no? Does she want to just have a topper? How long does she want it? How tall is she? Whatever. Like I'm going to have those questions asked so that immediately I know what kind of a piece she's going into. So if for some reason I think there are some like, things that we need to go into to see, well, what is the best piece for her? This is the section where I'm actually going to ask those questions. So we've talked about how this conversation is going to go. She's info dumped about all of her past hair loss stuff. Also in that story, she's going to be able to tell you how her hair loss happened. There will be clues in that story that tells you exactly what's going on with her hair loss if you're listening. Okay. So yes, Sarah told me this morning I have androgenetic alopecia, and she said that with her words. But you know what she didn't say with her words? She shared that she's also had issues like conceiving, and she's had a few miscarriages, and she shared some other like key details. She has thyroid issues. Da, 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 da. Guess what I also know that is? PCOS. So immediately when I said, hey, weird question, have you ever also been diagnosed with PCOS? And she said, yeah. How did you know that? I was like, well, these are all like common things that go together. So the way you were describing your hair loss, the other things that you've said, like they're all common in a PCOS kind of story. She was like, oh, that's really cool. I was like, yeah. So what that does for me in my brain is I know that her hair loss probably hasn't had like a massive shed in a while. So I asked that, hey, have you had like a massive hair loss recently? Or do you feel like your hair has just slowly over time gotten thinner and thinner? Guess what? Her hair slowly and slowly over time got thinner and thinner. So I know for a fact it is definitely androgenic alopecia that we're working with. We're not working with the telogen effluvium from some kind of stress or medical issue, that miscarriage that she potentially had, some kind of hormonal imbalance that has caused a whole bunch of hair to fall out. I know from those clues exactly what she's working with. And now I can feel confident saying, yeah, you'd be a good fit for X because I know her hair's not going to fall out. I know her hair is going to be strong enough to hold on to whatever method I decide to do. And maybe if she would have said, yeah, actually, like that's happening all the time. I'm just getting fistfuls of hair. Cool. I know her hair is probably not going to have the tensile strength and or the follicular strength to hold up a big heavy piece. So I know that my like method that I do needs to be a little more secure or a little more flexible or whatever. So this is already like answering questions in my brain as she's talking and we're connecting as humans. So moving on from there, whatever I don't have answered from that initial like step 2, discovering their story, that's when I'm going to ask those questions. So I'm going to start that by being like, oh my gosh, thank you so much for sharing everything. I do have a couple questions for you. One of which being, if you had your ideal dream hair, what would it look like? Open-ended question. Okay. So this is where you're going to either have the person that it's like, I literally don't care. I just don't want to be afraid of the wind, which was Sarah's answer this morning. She was like, I really don't know. I have had such thin hair for so long that like I I don't know what I would like it to look like. And I was like, fair. Like that's I get it, girl. You know what we can do? We can fit you with whatever works best for you because I have a massive hair stock and we can order a piece that we custom color. Do you want it to just like grow out nice and be pretty close to your natural color? And she's like, yes. I said, bet. So now immediately I know that she's kind of given me creative freedom for the color portion of things. And I'm like, hey, you know what? Now just take a look at some pictures on Pinterest, see if anything like sparks an interest in you. Because like honestly, we custom color everything so we can do whatever you want. And she was like, okay. So now she's like one step at a time, realizing that she has so many more options than she even thought she did. Like she came into this thinking that she was maybe going to get like one kind of like shit ass deal where it was like, well, I can kind of help you and maybe we can do this stupid thing, And she is now like, oh, I can have like all of these things. So like immediately her gears are already turning. She's getting pumped for it too, right? So like as this conversation goes, you guys, you're going to start feeling the energy of that client just build and build and build and build. So with this too, I'm going to say, okay, great. We've decided color wise. Now, this seems like a really weird series of questions. 2A is ideally, where would you like that hair to hit on your body? I am not a 18s, 22s, this topper, that topper. I'm not a details person like that. One, because it's fucking overwhelming. Okay. That would be like going to the car dealership. Okay. Say you need an oil change. And the mechanic comes out and he's like, all right, we got Valvoline, we got Pans oil, we got dilly dally oil. What would you like in your car? And I'm like, I don't fucking know. I just drive the motherfucker. Like, you tell me, dog, what's in there right now? Like, what'd you do last time? So like, don't give them so many options that they're immediately overwhelmed because like me as a human, if my mechanic came out and he was like, okay, we can do your brakes. Do you want the Fram? Do you want the this? We can do them like that. We can make them blue. What do you want? I'd be like, I don't fucking know. I want to leave. That's what I want. Actually, I'm going to go. That's immediately how that's going to happen. Okay. Your client is going to think the exact same way. So give them results. What do you want to look like when you leave? So that's what we want. And that's like when I go in, I want an oil change. I want my car.
Can I
What?
ask a question?
Yeah.
For the opposite side, for people who think they know it all, what how do you switch that? Because I do come
hmm
within like the, okay, well, where would you want it to hit on your body? But still sometimes they're like, well, 22s. And I'm like, girl, you don't even, what if you don't need 22s? And then it's an awkward, like, how do you switch
It's
that
weird.
back?
So this is more of like a mindset thing for them. So chances are they've heard 22s. One of their friends has 22s. They read a Pinterest post or something and they're like, 22s. Okay. So this is what I always say. Listen, I love that you've seen that on somebody else, but I'm going to ask these questions like to see if that's really what you want because links look different on every body type. So, and like use me for an example, and you can literally say this. I am 5'9", more than 5'9". Okay. I'm almost 5'10". I'm a tall bitch. And if you put 18s on me, it will look like a fucking bob. I am telling you, 18s sit here. Okay. That's it. Armpit length hair. That's what you're getting if you put 18s on my ass. Now, if I came to you and I was like, I saw some 18s and I want it to hit here. Or if they're like, I want 18s, and you're just like, bet. They aren't gonna know. Okay. So in that situation, it's like, okay, that's wonderful. Love that. Where would you like it to hit on your body with that hair though? Because different lengths lay different on different heights and body styles. So if you're busty, you got to think that hair is going to fluff out and it's going to look shorter. Versus if you're really short and like slim, that hair is going to hang really heavy. So we don't focus so much on those like nitty gritty like details of 18s, 22s, whatever, because at the end of the day, I want you to have your dream hair, and your dream hair is going to be customized to you and your body style and your body type and your height and everything if we go and answer these questions this way. And I could potentially save you different amount of money. We could be in a different package. Like just because you want a length doesn't necessarily always equate to that's the result that you want to have when we leave. So I just kind of like switch that around to say like, hey, we aren't like specifics kind of people. We're results people. So what do you want your results to look like when you leave, ideally? So I feel like that's a good like mindset shift. Because yeah, if you put 18s on me, they're going to come to here. If I say I want waist length hair because I saw my friend who has 18s, but she is 5'2", and I was like, oh my gosh, what length of extensions do you have? And she's 5'2", and she's like, I have 18s. I'm going to be like, bet I need 18s. Because again, it's like me walking into the car dealership, right? Like if I find out like that oh, so and so's car can go 10,000 miles without an oil change. Like, I want that shit. I'm not gonna go in and be like, hey, so I was talking to my friend and she uses the Valvoline 2000 XL diddly daddly doos. And she said with that exact oil, she could get 10,000 miles instead of 3,000 miles. And I don't want to be in here anymore. So can you do that? Like, I'm not gonna come in with basics and like exact things. I'm gonna be like, bitch, I want that oil that I don't have to come in here but like 3 times a year. Like, so that is like a good way to like flip that. But moving into the like question asking kind of thing, I'm always like, hey, where do you want this to hit on your body and how tall are you? Because again, like we just talked about, I am a giraffe and links hit different on different people. So if you have a person that is like 5'5" and below, 18s are going to be pretty long on them. Okay. If they're closer to the 5 foot range, you could potentially get waist length hair out of someone with 18s. Versus if you have someone that is over that like 5'4", 5'5" zone, and they say they want like bra strap or, mid back kind of hair, even into that like waist length hair, you're looking 22s and onward. So it's really important to like know how tall that is. And I always preface that by being like, I know this is going to be a really weird question, but I swear to God, it matters. I'll explain why in a second, but how tall are you? And they're always like, 5'5". I'm like, perfect. Okay. So if hypothetically you had to pick one, would you rather your hair fall on the longer side of bra strap length? Like, worst case scenario, would you be more okay with it if it was a little shorter or a little longer? So that's how you can kind of determine if somebody's um, like a long hair whore versus like, hey, I'm kind of okay if it's a little shorter than that. I just like it to be around here. Because there are literally some people that they're like, I want bra strap length hair. And then they're like, like to here. And you're like, ma'am, where are you wearing your bra? That's your waist. That is almost your belly button. Trina, what are you talking about? Okay. So you're definitely going to have those situations too. But if you can just kind of like say we use like shoulders, armpits, bra strap, length, mid back, and then waist. From there, you can pretty much determine with that and height how long you're gonna go. And then with that question of like, would you rather it air on the shorter side or longer side, you can decide, if they're kind of picky, go ahead, get 22s, cut them shorter, versus 18s. They don't need to know the price difference. They don't need to know like nickels and dimes on that. This package is A, that package is B. Quote them with the high one. If you decide to switch it up, then you can give them a deal on the day of. But that's always the thing that I recommend to quote high. People would rather feel like they got a deal versus feeling like they got robbed. This general rule of thumb. So the other question that I really like to ask is, do they want to see a part? Or do they want to feel like it's nice and natural and like, a parted scalp is underneath? Or do they want what I call movie star hair, news lady hair, where it is so voluminous and like va va voom that like you basically can't even tell that there's a part visible? So, like, when they look in the mirror, what do they want to see? Because that's also going to determine if I'm going to do a like classic kind of coverage piece or a full coverage piece that has a part built in versus maybe a lace closure that looks really scalp like. Like, it's going to help determine for me what I end up do for them. So those are some good like questions to ask. I also like to see what their lifestyle is like. If that hasn't already came up in like the first little conversation that we have, like, do they have kids? Do they like to swim? Like, usually these are questions that they'll ask you in this whole, question asking thing. Like, oh, can I swim in this? Or, oh, my kids are in a lot of ball and I'm outside a lot. What do I need to do with that? But if they're just some of those people that come in and they're like ready to give you a credit card number right out the gate, asking them a couple questions just to help like really make sure that you're picking the right piece for them is really important. And we do have a few of those questions in the like consultation checklist that we have. available in our course. So with that, after we get through our question asking thing, so we've set the frame, we have asked them, kind of what their story is in that discover their story section. And then we've determined in our head what the best fit for them is. At that point, I'm going to ask, okay, Sarah, do you have any other questions for me? I know, we've talked about a lot of things, but is there any other things that you want to touch base on before I get into the quote? Usually like, no, you really answered everything I got. And I was like, awesome, great. Okay. So what we're looking at here, I think would be the best fit for you. I think you would do great with a lace closure at the top because that's going to give you the ability to wear it all the ways you want to wear it. She had told me in our conversation that sometimes she likes to part in the middle, other times she likes to part on the side. Like she's just one of those girls that wants to be able to run her hands through her hair and like have a really natural look. I was like, yes. So I also, while we were on the phone, sent her a couple text messages of like different looks. It's like, hey, here's this, here's that. She was like, oh my gosh, I love that. I was like, perfect. That's a lace closure as the top. And then she also said that she would like to try to go back and have length if she could. She was used to wearing 22s and she does really love having the length if we could get away with it. And I was like, yeah, I really think your hair looks like wonderful for that, that we could get you back to those rows and have that coverage at the top. I think you'd be fine. She was like, awesome. So I let her know, hey, I'm going to quote you for 2 rows and the lace closure. Worst case scenario, if your hair is, when you come and sit in the chair, if it's one of those things where I don't think your hair is strong enough to hold the 2 rows quite yet, we'll only do 1, but I'm going to quote you for the high end. That way, I'd rather you be like thumbs up surprised on the day of and feel like you got a deal than me quote you the low side and then have to pay more on the day of. And she's like, absolutely. This is another thing that is going to build trust with your clients. If you can let them like know the high end and that transparency of everything. Also, during your consultation, if they're talking about things that you don't think is like feasible, if they're like, oh, I want to be able to go snorkeling in the Bahamas with my topper, and I never want to blow dry ever. This is a perfect time to be like, okay, dog, hate to be this guy, but we got to talk about some shit. Okay. So if that's something that they are really into, okay, then I am literally going to say, okay, so here is the thing with getting pieces like this. I say it's high maintenance to be low maintenance. With this kind of investment that you're potentially going to make, there are things that are a little different than your typical hair so that we can take care of it. Okay. So being in the ocean water, the snorkeling mask and all that, it will be a little difficult to keep everything from getting tangled, to keep that like tension off your scalp. And it is very important for your scalp and natural hair health that these pieces are thoroughly dried, both the base of your roots, all your scalp, and under the topper, thoroughly dried in order to prevent any kind of fungal infections happening. So it's really common for any kind of like dampness and wetness to create just the perfect breeding ground for any kind of like dandruff or fungal infections. And we really want to make sure that's not the case because your hair won't be strong enough to hold this piece if that's something that takes place. So I want you to get a great life out of your investment, but I'm also not a stylist who will keep doing something on you if it's not working or it's not in your best interest. So every time my guests come and see me, I vow that their hair will leave a little better than it was before. And if at any point in time that's not the case, I'm going to be the one to tell you, hey, this is no longer the best fit for you, and we're going to take that piece off and find you a different solution. So the last thing I want is for you to, kind of be your own worst enemy in this situation and to set you up for failure. If this is something that's really important to you, I think you'd be a better fit for a temporary piece, whether that be clip-in or a wig. That way, when you're active and when you're doing snorkeling or when you don't want to blow anything out, you can be better fit for something that is a little less maintenance for you. Again, these are things that I'm going to help fit them with via their lifestyle. So questions to ask to figure those things out. Because if they're just not a fit for a like a bonded in piece, a beaded in piece, like a permanent, a fixed piece. They're just not. So they would much rather you tell them that and be honest with them about that than you be like, ah, girl, you're gonna be a great fit. Can't wait. Come on down. And then they have like one maintenance schedule and it's a fucking nightmare. And then you come in and you're like, dude, what the fuck happened to your hair? And they're like, well, I told you I snorkel. And you're like, do you own a brush, Debbie? Like, so just not setting yourself up for failure in this too, and making sure that you ask those questions that would be important. Okay. So that's really important. But um, as we kind of have that all figured out, I'm going to let them know, like for me, for instance, Sarah was going to be a great fit for 2 rows and a topper. So in that conversation, I was like, I think this is going to be the best fit for you. You said you wanted to be able to part it anywhere that would give you that. It's going to just look really natural. You're still going to see your scalp. Like it's literally going to look like it's growing out of your head. And I think you would love it. So for that, we're looking at a $4,600 investment. We have a 50% down payment. So that's going to be 23 today. We can lock that in with a credit card and get that squared away. Or we do have a payment plan partner called Cherry we can use. Totally up to you, but we're going to get that locked in. And then we can get you on your road to your dream hair, pick a date, and schedule everything. How's that sound? So at that point, you're going to be able to open that door to invite them in and see if they want to, put a card down or whatever. I usually take cards over the phone and then just run it that way. I also can send an invoice and let them pay online. If I have an invoice or a payment over like online payment, I always just tell them, hey, this invoice will expire in 24 hours. So if it's not like I don't hold dates until payment is secured. So if this is something that you're really interested in, better lock this in sooner rather than later. I do take anywhere from 2 to 4 consultation calls a day on Mondays and Thursdays. So I would definitely have that, sooner rather than later. Now, whether or not I have 4 calls that day might not be a thing, but sometimes I do just let them know like, hey, I do have other calls this week. And I want to make sure that you don't lose your spot, So before I book anybody else, I will reach out to them and just be like, hey, just wanted to double check on that date. I haven't seen your payment for the invoice come through and have another person interested in that date. So don't just like give it away without saying something because, maybe they're just a little flighty and forgot. But I do just try to let them know, hey, I do have other consults this week. And I want to make sure, you get your spot. So there's that. On the flip side of that, if for some reason they are a giant walking red flag through the entire consultation, because we have all had those, where like halfway in, you're like, I think she's just fucking insane. And I think you need Jesus more than you need a topper. You need therapy, Patty. So there are definitely those folks that we see in the salon. So, in that case, it's literally like we're gonna circle back to if you make it weird, it's gonna be weird. Okay. It can literally just be as simple as okay, so Patty, I would love to set you up with potentially a clip-in piece or a wig, but I think those would be the better options for you, simply so that it's something that's a little more flexible for your lifestyle or whatever. So this is the like give them something to appease them kind of route. Okay, we have 2 here. So we have set them up with a clip-in piece, send them on their way. Okay, love to do that for you. I just don't think that a bonded in or a permanent topper, a permanent solution is going to be best for you. But I do have these options, and that's what we could do. If that's something you'd be willing to do, blah, 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 go back into your whole like, here's the price, For us, those start at 2,000, and that is also a fully customized situation. And I explained that at the time too, like, hey, we can customize it with your color, we can do whatever, and then that's just something that you can slap on and off whenever it's convenient. Oh, okay, so we have that option A. On the other side of that, if they're just a walking shit show and you don't want anything to do with it, we can say that. Not exactly, not verbatim, but kind of. So well, it's in the back of your head and you're like, but I really just want to tell you to fuck off. Okay, so that conversation is going to be a little more on the lines of something that like, hey, Patty, I really appreciate your time today, and thank you so much for sharing everything that you shared with me. Unfortunately, I just don't know if I'm going to be able to give you the hair of your dreams, and I only take on cases that I know 100% I can like give you everything that you could ever want or dream or need. So I just don't know if I'm the like right stylist for you. But I'd love to help you find who that person could be. Here's a couple people who I recommend. Um, otherwise I would suggest, Uniwigs is a great thing. You can pop on there, see what kind of pieces, shop around for yourself. There are a few other like really great like wig shops and stuff online that I would love to send you links to. Ta-da. You do not have to explain yourself any further than that. Done. And also, I'm going to remind you that no is a complete sentence. So if you have someone who starts arguing with you over the phone about it being a no, um, that is very telling. And that is totally grounds for you just hanging up. Just saying. But just remember that like this isn't something where you have to like appease everything all the time. Like if that person is fucking insane for some reason, one, check your marketing because chances are if you have like wild ass fucking cuckoo cuckoo people coming at you, you're probably seeming a little manipulatable online. And then we need to jig or adjust that. But that's not always the case. Okay. Sometimes crazies just find you, and that's no one's fault but theirs because they're fucking insane. But trust your gut and trust yourself if you're feeling like this person might be a weird. Um, typically, all the times that I've been like, I think she's just kooky, and then they come in and you're like, she's fucking weird. So just keep that in mind that first impressions are usually correct. And a lot of times people would treat you like, well, they'll teach you how to treat you. And it gets weird, So don't don't accept that for yourself if you don't have to. And you don't have to. This is me giving you permission to say no, you don't have to. So does anybody have any other questions about the consultation? What kind of struggles do you have with the consultation? What kind of like road bumps have you come across or anything like that that you want to kind of dive into before we hop off?
I'm trying to think because I'm still like at the beginning where the flow is just starting to happen for me. So I don't know. I think it's just that very first the beginning and making it like you said, honestly, for me, marketing. Because you even my best friend, my best friend's like, I know your boss. Like I watch her stories all the time. I'm like, damn, you're so right. And that's where I need to do better, but I just feel like my life is so boring. I don't do anything, and maybe that's where I need a hobby. Maybe we should go hiking, maybe summer service. But that I think that's where my like biggest thing is because when I do get somebody in, I feel like I can get them to like feel like they know me person, but it's online. Like they're
They
not
don't know you
picking that
before
up
they sit
because I'm
down,
not.
putting it out there. You
Hmm.
can't pick up what you don't put down. So I
Yeah.
think what's really helped me in this situation, like, and anybody watching this, you probably follow me online too, but I don't just share like me telling story times, like, about things that happen in my life. Like, yes, do I do that for sure? My chaos and concealer situations are also a thing, but it doesn't always be something where I'm like sharing an actual moment of my life. A lot of what I share is like shit that I find funny. Things that are like, I'm scrolling and looking at things and I start laughing. Those are the things that I put in my story because chances are the people that are like you will also find it funny. Okay. And those are the people that you want to sit in your chair. So then in between those like pepperings of like, hey, I laughed at this and I hope you do too, your people are going to feel like they know you because you're sharing things that like they relate with, whether that be something that's funny, whether that's something that's like tugs at your heartstrings, or you're like, oh my God, look how adorable this is. Like it doesn't have to be a rocket science. And I think that's what we all like get in our head, that it has to be this like prim and proper, perfect kind of way, whether it's prim and proper or whether you're like, oh, it has to look like this. No, it doesn't. No, it fucking doesn't. It doesn't have to look like anything but what you're going through. Like it could literally be your cup of coffee with like a little fucking quote someday. And it's just those little teeny tiny things that are going to like let people in to be like, oh, this is the type of person she is. It doesn't have to be anything like mind blowing.
So I'm overthinking it per use.
Absolutely.
Okay, got it. No, and I always think to myself, like, they say, like, romanticize your life or just like to be aesthetic. And it does sound so nice, but I
But it
think that's where we overthink it, where it's like anything is aesthetic. Anything
Well, and
you
it doesn't have to be aesthetic. I feel like that's the thing that we always
yeah.
get locked into too, is like, oh, I want to make sure it's aesthetically pleasing.
And
Fuck
I'm a
it.
messy person.
Then
I am
be
not
messy.
aesthetic.
Like, dude, like all of y'all know me so well. I am a fucking train wreck. Like,
Yeah.
if y'all follow me
But
on
we love
Instagram,
you
just
for
buckle
it.
up. See? But like the chaos of which that is me in my person is what I share because that's authentic to me. That's not going to be authentic to everyone. So if your life is a little more chill and slow going and like, hey, I'm just sitting here on the fucking couch watching a show, it could literally just be a shot of like, the coffee table and the TV and like episode 3, holy shit, what the fuck was that? Like done, because chances are somebody else has watched that and they're like, dude, do you remember that thing? Or like, yeah, when so and so like dropped dead, I shit myself. And you're like, same, like it's literally like me sharing my book stuff. If you follow me on Instagram, like I'll get
Mhm.
into a book every once in a while and I will pick out a little like thing and I'm like, I'm I'm deceased. Like, what the fuck was this sentence? Like, not so much that I like spoil the book, but like people know I read. People know that like I get into stuff like that. Like it's important to me. It's a fun thing that I do. So that's not going to be everybody's thing, but those little stuff that we can share, those little like snippets that we can be relatable, that we can, because this is the like part, right? This is the like and know that we're trying to build, because the trust comes by like natural selection after that. So they want to like the same things that we like. They want to see that we like the same things they like. And then like knowing us feels like it comes naturally through that. So,
I can work
um,
on this. I got
yeah,
this. Because
you
I
should
think
be.
that's what it is. I think it's just like, because so many people be like, oh, I just feel like I've known you my whole life after they sit down. But that
Yeah.
first like 15 minutes is like, oh, a
Oh,
little bit
sure.
awkward. Like I can make it not weird, but it's still awkward,
Yeah.
you know?
Yep.
But yeah,
So,
that would be my only question. And that answers all of them. Like I think I just needed permission for real.
yeah. Sometimes that's all we need.
Thanks.
Anytime. All right. So if you have any other questions about consultation stuff, drop those as a comment on the feed. We'll get those answered if anybody's watching this later. We will be back in a couple more weeks for another episode of the Transforming Reflections Chitty Chats. And I don't know what we'll be talking about next time because I haven't totally made up my mind yet. But see you later. Have a great day. We'll see you
You
in a couple weeks.
too. See ya.
Bye.
Bye.